Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gives in the Bank recruiting podcast brought to you by BuckeyeScoop.com. I am Marc Givler, joined by Bill Green, as always. And we got Kevin Noonan here, too. He may be jumping in at some point. We'll see. But a lot to talk about here. Look, there's a lot going on. We're getting into, I think, what the beginning of crunch time, I think, here with recruiting when things really, get heated up. We're going to go over a couple of news items, and then we're going to shift gears. We're going to do like a little bit of a preview of the Penn State visitor list. We're going to just talk about a couple of those guys. We're going to have content all week about the Penn State visitor recruiting list, but we're going to give kind of a soft opening to that and continue to hit on that throughout the week. And as we know, I mean, the list is going to change between now and Saturday, so we'll keep on top of that as well. There's a running list on BuckeyeScoop.com for anyone who's interested. First of all, they did get they got a commitment there out of offensive lineman Avery Henry, a St. Clairsville, Ohio native, 2022 offensive lineman, 3-star kid, was committed to Iowa State for a while. So obviously, Bill, you have some contacts there on that staff. I guess first of all, Bill, your thoughts on Avery Henry, and then kind of what that means here, I guess, as Ohio State tries to tie up their offensive line recruiting in this cycle.
Yeah, Avery was a guy that Iowa State was really happy to get, or thought they were going to get. He's perfect for them. He's a project. There's no other way to put it, but a project with a lot of stuff you like to see in terms of footwork, length, reach, height, all that stuff. So is he Paris Johnson? No, he's not. You know what I mean? Donovan Jackson? No, he's not. This is it's an Ohio project. It's the kind of guy that Ohio State does take from time to time. I would compare him to Trey LaRue in a lot of ways. It's the kind of guy that Iowa State has to take. So there's a difference there. Can he develop into something special? Of course. He's got a lot of things going for him. Is he J.C. Latham right now? No, he's not. So he's a project, a guy that you look to develop. I've always thought they wanted to take 5 in this class, O-lineman. I know I read 4 a lot. I think they need 5, and I think they're willing to take 5. I don't think getting Avery Henry affects whether they would take Cam Dewberry and Earnest Greene, and I think they would take both of those guys with open arms. So I think there's room for 5. I think taking Avery Henry right now as opposed to taking Avery Henry around Thanksgiving, I think shows that they're willing to go to 5. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, Marc, in terms of numbers.
No, I would agree with that. Again, the timing of this, I think also they want to prevent a situation where they still have, 2 or 3 guys going into December, and now you're looking around, the country, trying to find another guy. So I think they wanted to get someone locked in here. This is probably a good segue. If you are on BuckeyeScoop.com, you know this already. We just kind of put that out maybe about an hour or 2 before we started recording here. Top 100 offensive lineman Earnest Greene from St. John Bosco in California, one of the very top 2 or 3 probably high school programs in the nation. He's visiting this weekend, official visit for the Penn State game. We've kind of hinted at that the last couple of weeks. That's kind of the day I was here. That's kind of the weekend I was hearing, but I think they wanted to see the TV times and make sure that this was going to be a night game or at least a 3:30 game, so they didn't run into the same issues they ran into with Oregon, which was a noon kick, and they weren't going to be able to get, they didn't feel comfortable that they were going to make the flight they had, and then get into Columbus. So I'm told that's locked in. I agree with a little bit of the Georgia smoke. Like I get it. I think Georgia, definitely has his attention, has impressed him. But I've never felt this was totally getting away from Ohio State. And I always felt if they get him back on campus, that they still had a really good chance to win this. Bill, where do you stand now? Let's assume he's going to actually make this trip in 5 days. Where do you stand with this one? And do you think I'm maybe being overly optimistic, or do you think, this weekend sets up, pretty well for Ohio State?
Yeah, I think Georgia is the clear leader right now. I think they blew him away on his visit. I was told that there was some thought that he might just go ahead and commit to them and be done with it. I was really happy to see that he visited Texas. I think to me, that was a sign that Georgia's not a lock, or he never would have taken that trip, and he wouldn't be taking this trip to Ohio State either. I met Ernest 2 summers ago. He was just a baby. He was coming off his freshman year. He was at a camp that they held at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, not far from my house here. And he was really special then as just a 15-year-old kid. And I talked to him at the time, and he was just raving about Ohio State then. And he told me that everything that he felt about Ohio State was coming from Wyatt Davis, who he described as his big brother. So that has always given me, a lot of optimism in terms of Ohio State landing that kid. We also remember back in June, Mark, when he came to Ohio State on his own dime. And it wasn't like, he needed to prove anything to anyone. He came there to work out with Greg Studrawa. And now he's coming back for his official. So, yeah, I think Ohio State definitely has a really good shot here. I think Georgia's in the driver's seat. But we've seen Ohio State do these official visits. I mean, since Urban showed up at Ohio State, Mark Pantoni, that group, they know how to do official visits. They're as good as anyone in the country. If they can just get somebody on campus for the full official visit, their hit rate is amazing. So I would say Georgia is in a good spot right now. I would say they're the leader right now. But I think that can be flipped by the time Ernest gets back on that plane and heads back to California. So I think Ohio State has more than a puncher's chance here.
Yeah, and they have a great relationship at St. John Bosco. They
Yeah.
have great relationships with not just the kids there and obviously with the Wyatt Davis connection, but they have great relationships with the coaching staff at St. John Bosco. They have great relationships with like I don't think a lot of people understand this. St. John Bosco has like a media relations person. Like that's how big time they are there. And I know her very well. And she is a very positive Ohio State person. Okay. She really likes those guys over at the Woody. So everyone at that program likes Ohio State, and that never hurts in these types of situations when there's a comfort level with the entire program. We mentioned the Avery Henry commitment. I guess we should have mentioned the Kenyatta Jackson commitment as well. Those came kind of back-to-back days there, I think. K2 in the fold, first big defensive line domino. Bill, you're very well connected in South Florida. What do you like about him? What are maybe some things he's working on? What are you hearing about Kenyatta Jackson Jr. from your people in South Florida?
Yeah, I like him a lot, and everybody that I trust really likes him a lot. I think he's possibly underrated right now. I think there's a lot of upside there. Speed rusher coming off the edge. He's what you expect from a Florida defensive end. And I think they need DNs in this class. I think he's a true DN, not a Gabe Powers, maybe DN, maybe linebacker, or an Omari Abor, might be a tackle, might be an end. This guy's a true end. And one of the side benefits here is I'm the last guy that believes in recruiting, those team decisions, those double team things, but this really almost ensures that they're going to get Ryan Turner, because Ryan and Kenyatta have talked about forever about playing in the same school together. And I think this just locks in Ryan Turner as well. And I'm really high on Kenyatta Jackson. I love the program. I love everything I've seen from this kid on film. I've seen him in person one time. And, I'm really high on Kenyatta Jackson. I think it's a great get for Larry Johnson.
Yeah, I saw Kenyatta in person back in the spring. It was May. And just was watching him at practice. They had an open practice I was able to go to, and he reminds me physically of Zach Harrison. I think they have the same body type in that they are 6'5", broad guys, long arms. They have very similar body types. Room to fill out like Zach did coming out of high school. Stronger than maybe they look. I think Kenyatta, was watching Kenyatta hit the sled. He can move it. So I really like that comparison, but at the same time, Zach was a 17-year-old high school senior. So Zach was kind of a year behind where he should have been from a classification standpoint. And I thought Kenyatta, just watching him, moved a little better than Zach in terms of his coordination. Zach at times kind of looked like a baby giraffe out there a little bit. Like he didn't, like the arms and the legs weren't always working together. And I thought Kenyatta was a little more, I would say polished, a little more, again, a little less awkward in terms of his movement. And so, but I think that's kind of the type of guy who eventually will grow into someone who's, 6'5", 275, and kind of, almost a strong side end with the ability to rush the passer. I know you saw Zach as well. I mean, am I way off there, or is there someone else that you think maybe he compares to?
Yeah, to me, Kenyatta was kind of a Tyreek Smith type. So I think we're in the ballpark there. The thing I like is he is a D end. He is not a tweener that you don't know if he's a tackle or an end, and you don't know where he fits. He's a D end to me. I think he does grow into probably a strong side guy, but he could be a weak side guy too. He can come off the edge, and that's what they need. They need somebody who can get to the passer. I love what he brings coming off the edge. So I think he's a really, really good get for them. If you give me my choice between Kenyatta or Omari Abor, I would take Kenyatta Jackson. And I know a lot of people probably don't agree with that, but I think Kenyatta fits Ohio State better. Not that they wouldn't take both of them, but if given a choice between the two, I'll take Kenyatta Jackson.
Well, maybe that's a good segue to this. We're going to get into questions now. We had a bunch of user questions from Twitter and the message board. We're obviously going to give message board questions priority right now as I look through this. But we got our guy Ebron84 from the site asking. We're going to play the who's in, who's out game. I usually write these up around this time of year as we get into crunch time and the target list kind of shrinks to, 5 or 10 guys. I'll do a who's in, who's out and kind of predict where I have them going at this point. And so he's asking us to play who's in, who's out. He's got 5 names here. So we'll go through all of them. The first one is Omari Abor. What is he in or out now for the Buckeyes? And before you answer that, has your answer maybe changed from what it would have been a week ago?
Man, I've been all over the board on this kid. He's the perfect guy for my segment I do of yes, no, maybe, probably, possibly, unlikely. And I think I've had him at every one of those categories so far. For me personally, I want to see if Shamar Stewart gets off the plane, if Marvin Jones gets off the plane. We'll see. I mean, I think he's there for the taking for Ohio State. I don't think Alabama wants him at this point. I don't think he's going to end up at Oklahoma. I mean, he's going to go somewhere. I mean, I think if Ohio State wants him and pushes for him, I definitely think they can get him. But to play yes or no, I mean, he's going to be like back in my board on the possibly, probably. That's my category for Omari Abor.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned, I've alluded to this the last couple of weeks where in a vacuum, I thought they were in great shape with Kenyatta and I thought they were in good shape with Omari, but I've always been skeptical that they would get both. I always felt whichever guy kind of flinched first, they might not get the other one. I would probably take the field right now, but here's the thing. I don't know where he would go at this point. It seems
Right.
like Oklahoma's out of it. I talked to my, the same person down there in Oklahoma that told me that Kenyatta Jackson was absolutely going to Ohio State about maybe a week or two before Kenyatta's announcement is saying that Oklahoma is not even really in the discussion right now with Omari. So, there seems to be mixed reports about Alabama and what's going on there. My guy in Oklahoma, again, felt Ohio State was ahead of Alabama and that those were kind of the two. But I think Texas A&M's a dark horse here. But you've got Texas A&M recruiting Eni White and Shamar Stewart as well, and so we don't even know how that's going to play out. So I'm struggling to figure out where he ends up. It could very well still be Ohio State, but I just don't know if the dominoes are going to fall in the right way. Where maybe he doesn't look at Kenyatta committing to Ohio State, and if they get someone else here soon, maybe a Caden Curry or something like that. If he still, maybe starts to feel differently, maybe starts looking at Texas A&M. I did talk to one person thinks maybe Texas is a dark horse. They also threw out LSU. So I think I just named like 8 teams. So I don't know. I think that's as fluid of a top 50 recruitment right now as you can get. I think there are so many teams involved there right now, and it's going to be fascinating. I will, gun to my head, say out, I guess, for the spirit of the question. But God, I wouldn't be shocked if he was in. But it just, I would, I just, I'll take the field right now. I'll say out. Next one up, Hero Kanu, in or out?
I say in because I've said in from the beginning. I love him as a player. Number one, we saw him in camp work out. He was a terror. And I can't get out of my mind the fact that, number one, this is not the traditional recruit. Okay. He's a foreign kid. He has no allegiance anywhere. And when he was at Ohio State, he loved Ohio State. I thought he was going to ask for a room and enroll in June. He had a great relationship with Larry Johnson. He's a very mature kid, very thoughtful kid. He just seems to click with what, how Larry Johnson coaches and the kind of kid he wants. So I'm staying within, and it's going to take me a lot to move off of Hero Kanu is into Ohio State. I think it's pretty strong.
Yeah, I agree on that. I know people were getting all bent out of shape about the Oklahoma visit. Look, great time, I'm sure. Look, it's so hard to mess up these visits. These kids have great visits everywhere. I didn't hear anything coming out of the visit that would switch me off Ohio State here. Just that Oklahoma, had a good visit. They got him thinking a little bit. There's optimism that, they're going to be in this thing until he eventually makes a decision this winter. But again, great timing here. They're going to get him back on campus this weekend. That's pretty much locked in at this point. So I think in, and with Kenyatta Jackson already in now, I would say Hero Kanu is one of my higher conviction picks right now being in this class. I mean, Caden Curry's probably at the top of the list for me, but I think Hero's up there for me as one of my higher confidence picks. Now it's going to get fun because now we're not being asked to prognosticate a kid's decision that might be a month or two off. We're now being asked to prognosticate 2023s here. So this is going to be fun, and a couple of out of states. Ricahrd Young, 2023 5-star running back, number one running back in the country. Quite frankly, one of the best running back prospects I think I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years. Florida kid, Lehigh, Florida. In or out, Bill? Ricahrd Young.
Yeah, Bama wants him really bad. They see him as Najee Harris. That's what they're selling him on. If he signed his letter today, I think it would be Ohio State. So I'm going to say in. I mean, he loved it when he was there. Great relationship with Tony Alford. And I'm more of a relationship guy than I am a visit guy or anything else. So the relationship is there. It's very strong with Tony Alford. Tony's a great guy. He's a great recruiter. He's a heck of a running back coach. Everything fits for Ricahrd Young to spurn Alabama and choose Ohio State. So on October 25th, 2021, in.
Yeah, I've got him in as well. And again, yeah, I think this one's pretty simple. I think it's Ohio State or Alabama. I know it's crazy early, but I think he's going to end up at one of those two. I would strongly take those two over the field. I would be really surprised if it wasn't one of those. And can you blame Alabama for the Najee Harris pitch? I mean, I think Najee was a little bit of a better pass catcher at this point of his high school career, but that's exactly kind of who he is. I mean, he's a big 25 carry a game, just workhorse running back with great explosion, vision. I mean, he is the total package. And again, yes, the relationship with Tony Alford there, that is so strong. And we've seen Tony kind of, get his hooks into kids. He did it with J.K. Dobbins. He got him to commit without even taking a visit. Richard's already been up a couple times. He did it with TreVeyon Henderson without even taking a visit. He's been able to get these kids. So I think he's got his hooks in here really well. I think he's very well respected. He's got a prior relationship with the coaching staff down there, which I think has helped them. They speak glowingly about Tony Alford down there. So I like Ohio State here, with, again, Alabama maybe being the one program that could spoil this for them. But I think what's interesting is I think that in addition to the relationships and everything else, I think the pitch of, okay, yes, TreVeyon Henderson is here, but you're going to be a true freshman when TreVeyon's a junior. We know TreVeyon Henderson's not going to be here as a senior. So you can kind of come in and spell Trevion Henderson and not put too much wear and tear on your body, and then have 2 great years and go off to the NFL. I think the timing of this is really good for Ohio State. Sometimes we talk about how the depth chart maybe doesn't help Ohio State or doesn't work out in their favor, but I think this is one case where it does. So I would have him in. Next guy, A.J. Harris. Again, 2023 5-star corner, maybe the best corner in the country in the 2023 class, certainly one of them. Has an announcement coming up likely in December now. It was mid-January, looking maybe like more mid-December now, but it's going to be one of those 2 dates. So decision soon. Was at Ohio State recently. I know there was some stuff that he might come back for the Penn State game. I'm told he's honoring the Clemson visit for that. So I'll keep up on that all week just in case anything changes there. But last I was told was he was honoring the Clemson visit that they had set for this weekend. But could maybe pop back up at Ohio State in November, depending on playoff schedules and things like that. So we'll see what happens there. In or out, A.J. Harris.
Yeah, I'm gonna back out of this one. I just don't feel I have good information on him, and I know you do. So like, I don't know, and that's just, I could give some BS answer or throw something out. This is one kid I just have never been able to find a source or anyone who's telling me anything that I believe. I think you're in really good in this recruitment. I think Alex is sitting really good in this recruitment. So I have no problem admitting that I'm not the guy on A.J. Harris. So I'm going to watch you and Alex on this one. And if you're wrong, I'm going to make fun of both of you. I promise you that. So I am giving no pick on A.J. Harris. I'm going with Marc and Alex. And believe me, if they're wrong, they are going to hear about it.
I'm sticking with Ohio. I'm going to say in, first of all. But now I'm going to, gosh, do I want to be right or wrong now after hearing that? I don't know. Kind of interested to see what you'd have to say about us if we're wrong. I think Clemson's in there. I don't buy Notre Dame, even though they visited. I don't know that Notre Dame's really in there right now. I tend to think Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia right now. He did visit Ohio State, and then he visited Georgia the next week. He's going to visit Clemson this weekend, it looks like. And then we get to watch and see if he squeezes anything in November. That'd be really fascinating if he ended up back here at Ohio State in November or anywhere for that matter, to kind of create even more suspense than already exists here. But I like Ohio State. I think I will say the one wild card here is, the Kerry Combs factor. Is Kerry back next year? I tend to think as long as the defense continues to improve, that they're not going to want to mess with what's going on right now defensively. So I'm assuming Kerry Combs will be back next year. And Matt Barnes has started to get more involved. I know that was something the family wanted. They wanted to talk more to Matt Barnes because regardless of what's going on in the defensive room right now, Matt Barnes is the secondary coach. And so I think they wanted to just kind of make sure they're comfortable with him. That went very well on the visit, I'm told. So I'm still in on A.J. Harris. With Georgia and Clemson, I think trying to shake that up if they can. Last one here on the who's in and who's out is, oh man, this will be fun. Sonny Styles.
In. Final answer. In.
I'm with you. I think he's in too. I think, again, I think he's very close with his brother, but I also think they're completely different personalities. And I think he's going to end up at Ohio State. I think a lot of teams are recruiting Sonny as the next this or the next that. I know Notre Dame's kind of saying the next Kyle Hamilton. So most schools seem to be kind of pegging him to one position and kind of selling him on that. Whereas Ohio State's kind of saying, you're a defensive weapon. It may be, you may be rushing the passer one game. You may be covering a tight end the next game. If they have if we need a tight end stopper that week, the bullet has been thrown out there, but he's worked out with Kerry Combs. He's worked out with Al Washington. He's worked out with Larry Johnson. He's worked out with Matt Barnes. He's worked out with every member of the defensive staff.
And worked out with Matt Barnes, and those two at the time, Kerry was the DC last summer, and we didn't know the roles were going to flip. So at the time, Matt Barnes was, not the man he is now. And those two worked really well together. Sonny had a great relationship going with Matt Barnes, and Matt was doing a lot of teaching, and Sonny was doing a lot of absorbing, and you could just tell that they clicked. So, and I never forgot about that when we saw Matt Barnes get elevated to the DC. That was one of the things I thought about was that great relationship that he and Sonny had, and they really worked well together. And that's always important to me. If I can see that in a camp, that coach player relationship where it's not like we're buddy buddy and we play video games together and we talk on the phone about girls. This was an actual working relationship that I thought really clicked.
Yeah, I agree. And, just the fact that, he worked with those guys and then he'd go work with Al Washington. Then the one day he worked with Larry Johnson privately for about 10 minutes at, kind of at the end of camp. Look, you don't do that if you're not interested. Like that's just like, why would he waste his time? And then he camped like 4 times or 3 times and he was there a 4th day. I mean, look, it's one thing to come up for a camp and let them work you out a session, but to continue to do that. And, quite frankly, he's close with a lot of the Ohio State leans in that class. A lot of kids we think are going to end up at Ohio State are tight with Sonny. And Sonny has certainly been communicating to them, his thoughts on his recruiting process and everything else. And I just think I think this is set up to be an Ohio State win over Notre Dame. And the brother angle, I mean, look, this would be what, the 4th or 5th pair of brothers that Ohio State and Notre Dame would have split in the last 12 years.
Well,
I mean,
Hireman,
signed the Simons.
Yeah, that's right. Wow.
It would almost be unusual it would be out of the ordinary if Sonny went to Notre Dame, given the recent history of the brother situations with those 2 schools. So I don't think I think the brother card's being overplayed. But
another thing that kind of clicks with me is that the older brother has gone away from home. You know what I mean? If the older brother stayed at home, the mom was there, the dad was there, the older brother's there, I think it puts a little bit more pressure on the young dude to kind of stay with his family. But since, the older brother's gone, you know what I mean? Lorenzo's out of the house. So I don't think it makes that follow the brother as easy because he can stay home and be with mom and dad if that's what he wants to do. I think he's going to Ohio State. I was told by somebody last summer that he had been recruiting kind of for Ohio State. So, I think he had everything up. I think Sonny Styles is going to be a Buckeye and a darn good one. And just from a personal kind of point of view, I mean, just the thought of seeing CJ Hicks and Sonny and how they would use them together on the field is really, it's a fun thought for me to see just those 2 hybrids. And how are you going to put them 2 out there together and the havoc they can cause?
Yeah, to hit on that, they are. I mean, look, we've seen every great Ohio's produced a lot of really interesting defensive players, linebacker types over the years. We've probably seen just about all of them in the last 15 years. Could you come up with 2 better blitzing linebackers than Hicks and Styles that we've seen we've seen a lot of guys, but those 2 I think are special in blitz. I mean, CJ Hicks is just a missile. Sonny's the same way. I think that would open up the possibilities on defense with those 2 from, your blitz packages and where the blitzers are coming from. That to me is the most intriguing thing about those 2.
Yeah, they're both kind of positionless players. They're just, you put them where you want to put them. You can do so much stuff where if you look at the linebackers that are thrown on the field this year, those guys are pretty limited in how you can deploy them. And I think I think when you put CJ and Sonny out there, they can do anything. You can put either of them in the back end and let them cover. You can put them with their hand down on 3rd down and let them rush the passer. They can cover tight ends. They can cover backs. They could be a real force in the running game. I mean, it's just the possibilities are so endless and to have 2 like that when I don't think we've seen a guy like that on the field defensively for Ohio State since maybe Darren Lee. And I think both of these guys have more of a varied skill set than what Darren had. So I'm really excited to see each one play in college. But boy, the thought of pairing those 2 guys together and just how how varied your blitz package can be and in your coverage, everything. I mean, you can do things with those two dudes that you really couldn't do with Pete Warner and Baron Browning and Tuff Borland, let alone the group you got on the field this year with. It's pretty limited.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and I know CJ's already working that one as well. So even CJ's working that and trying to make that happen. So we'll see. But I feel pretty good about Ohio State there right now. From Tony, is that Gerdeman? Is that how you say that? Is that how we say that?
Well, we say it other ways, but maybe for this video, we better stick with that.
Pick a flip, of course, has to be drama. Pick a flip candidate currently committed to another school. Wow. And I'm glad you're going first because I'm struggling on that.
Yeah. I might have thrown like Jair Brown out there a month or so ago. I mean, I know he probably wants someone to flip to Ohio State. Right. I kind of had Jair Brown on the possible flip list for a while there. I had Ryan Turner on that list for a while too. But I think Kenyatta locks in Ryan. So flipping out of the class, I have no one. Flipping into the class, man, that's a tough one there because they're done at so many spots, geez, let's go with, I don't know, man. He's got me there. It's not going to be Drew Allar. That I know.
Oh, I know. Everyone was wanting you to say that. Especially, I mean, you're probably on our staff. You're the closest guy to Drew, so everyone's waiting for you to say that.
Yeah. As long as Franklin and Yurcich are still at Penn State, it's not going to be Drew Allar. If Franklin leaves and heads to the SEC or he heads to USC and takes Mike Yurcich with him, then all bets are off, man. So I'll just say Zach Rice, just to get some discussion going. That's not going to happen. But anyway, stud's going to stud there. But I thought that would create some excitement. But Drew Allar, right now, zero possibility. I think Penn State wishes they could start him this week.
Right. Right.
Drew's got such a clear path to the field at Penn State. I think it's a great choice for him, but these coaching changes can throw things open. So to be determined, but I don't see anyone flipping out of the class. I don't see that.
I will say, I think I get bonus points if this happens. I will say Chris McClellan.
Wow.
Commits somewhere else in the next couple of weeks, and then it's not quite over.
Okay, how about
something else could happen?
Yeah,
that's like a 2-team parlay right there, right? I mean, that's not just a flip. That's a commit somewhere else and then flip. That's a 2-teamer.
Okay, I'll trump that and say, how about Chris McClellan commits to Florida before the Penn State Ohio State game kicks off?
And then what happens? Does he sign with Florida?
That's pretty good because I'm usually not the when guy, and I say that all the time. I'm not when. I'm going to drop some when now. I think Chris McClellan will commit to Florida this week, and then, buddy, the watch is on.
I agree. That's going to be interesting. All right. What do we got here? We got okay. Here we go. Any thoughts on the state of OL recruiting? I think he meant for 22. It's Brutus Buckeye 11. Any thoughts on the state of O-line recruiting? Hinsman, Greene, and Dewberry, or anyone else?
I would rank them. Boy, I would have Dewberry and Greene 1 and 1A. I don't think they're getting Hinsman. They need at least one of Dewberry and Greene, and getting both would really be. It would be great. I mean, it really would. So. I would put Hinsman down below the other two. I have the other two 1 and 1A. If I had to favor one, I would. Wow, I couldn't favor one. I think they're tied, in my opinion.
In terms of ability or potential to end up at Ohio State?
Ability, it's Earnest Greene. But in terms of, the highest probability of committing and signing with Ohio State, I would have Earnest and Dewberry about the same there. And Hinsman would be below those two. Ability, I think it's Earnest clearly.
Yeah, I agree with the ability. I want to see. I mean, this is kind of the fascinating part about those three. I want to see who the hell shows up this weekend because there are rumors about all three. We've got Earnest Greene, I think, nailed down that he's coming.
I think he got that one.
Yeah. I mean, Hinsman. Like if he shows up, if Hinsman shows up this weekend, I'm intrigued at that point. I'm going to stay on my island on Dewberry. Just my Texas, Oklahoma area guys, they just, yeah, Ohio State's in there. Yeah, he likes Ohio State. Yeah, that's the only school out of the region I think he would go to. But when push comes to shove, it's gonna be A&M or Texas or somewhere drivable from his home. I don't think they're gonna get him. I think I'd probably go Greene, Hinsman, Dewberry right now if I had to rank.
Wow.
That'd probably be my order. And then I know we do have some question. I know a couple people have kind of talked about this on the board, so I don't want to. I'm not even going to say a poster's name because I think a couple people have asked about it, and I don't want to say someone. I don't want to credit someone with the question, and the other people that mentioned it, get offended. So let's just say we've had several requests to talk about Kiyaunta Goodwin. So that's kind of a good segue from what we just talked about. Bill, what do you have there?
Well, I know there's a lot of smoke there coming from a lot of different places that he's going to visit Ohio State. He's going to take an official there. I just don't have anything positive on Kiyaunta Goodwin in Ohio State. And I'm not sitting here telling you that he's absolutely going to go to Kentucky because I've been writing for months that I think Kentucky's in a little bit of trouble there. But I think Alabama and Michigan State right now are ahead of Ohio State. So I would put that squarely that if he takes that official visit and he's on campus for an extended period, then my antenna is going to go way up and he's going to hit my radar for sure. But right now, I just don't think Ohio State is getting Kiyaunta Goodwin. If that's what people are looking for, I don't think they're getting him right now.
I agree that they're probably not getting him right now. And I'll probably never, I want to say never, but I'll probably rarely ever say this again about a recruit. I want to see him on Twitter with the visiting Ohio State this weekend, pin drop, Buckeye gear photo shoot thing on Twitter. I want to see that because this has been rumored for months. And
right.
It just like there, I'm getting so much noise as to like, why hasn't this happened? Why haven't we seen the public announcement of a visit if he allegedly wants to? He's a highly ranked player in a position of need, was at one time probably their top offensive tackle target. Why is this not happening? My theory is that I still think it doesn't sit great with Ohio State, how things were handled back in the spring when they were kind of, just telling him to relax. Visits are coming back soon. Just, don't commit somewhere else. Just, come, just give us another month or two. Come check us out, this, that, and the other. And then boom, committed to Kentucky. And I still feel like some of that's playing a part here. Am I paranoid? Should I have had a tinfoil hat on for that segment? Or,
Yeah.
why isn't this happening?
When I look at O-line recruiting and, going back the last few years, I don't think they're in a position to screw around with a 5-star offensive tackle. Like they're making him beg to be able to visit. Like, I don't think they're in a position to do that. Wide receivers with Hartline, yeah, you can play with them guys because he's going to get his dudes. But when you just took Avery Henry last week, I don't think you can screw around with Kiyaunta Goodwin. I think you kind of got to play his game under his rules. Okay, he's that great of a player, and you don't have the future tackles on the roster that look like that dude or can play like that dude. So I'm not buying that Ohio State's kind of playing hard to get with Kiyaunta and kind of making him beg to be able to visit. If they're doing that, I think they're making a huge mistake when you look at the roster. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't have an answer there. If he shows up, my antenna gets peaked a little bit there, but we'll see.
And I agree with you. I on that point that if they are doing that, I think it's kind of crazy. But I mean,
Yeah, I don't buy
And
it.
why else has this visit not taken place? I don't know. Um, okay, here's another one. I think be interesting. So I think you just mentioned you don't have anyone else leaving the class for Ohio State at this point.
I
So,
don't.
but there's a question about Kojo Antwi, concern about Georgia visits. I think that was a Twitter question. Um, Kojo Antwi, concerned about a Georgia visit. I know he was there recently. I'll jump in here real quick and see if Bill has anything to add. I was down there 2 weeks ago, I think it was now. No concern from anyone down in Georgia from Kojo that he's going to flip, and really no concern from Ohio State. And it's kind of their job to be concerned about this stuff. So I haven't sensed any concern there. And he just put up that he's going to be visiting Ohio State this weekend. He's going to be back in Columbus this weekend. So I think Brian Hartline has that one on lock. Bill, anything to add or disagree?
No, I agree with you 100%. I've never been remotely concerned about Kojo leaving the class. I think he's in. I think he signs.
Let's check Twitter here again. I know we got a few. This is a good one. At Cardhole, is there a position group that fans are worried about filling out in the 2022 recruiting class that the staff is okay waiting until 2023? I'm thinking if they miss on top of the board defensive linemen or safeties, that they are okay knowing with the current roster and, kind of, I think you went on to say, talk about backup plan, lack of good backup plans or whatever. I know that was kind of a mouthful there, but, anything that maybe the fans are more concerned about than you think maybe the coaches are concerned about right now in terms of finishing 2022. I have an idea, but I'm going to see what you think.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think they're going to take that second tight end. They had two committed. They moved off. One of them. Yeah, that's a tough one for me. I mean, I think they need those two safeties in this class, at least one of them, for sure. D line, you never want to, oh, we'll just get them next year. Heck with that. I mean, there's guys that they can get this year and have a great D line class. So I say no. Maybe linebacker in this class. Maybe they wait. Maybe they wait on linebacker. A lot depends there if Gabe Powers is a back or a DN. So I don't know. You know what I mean? I think the concern from fans that I see is O-line, and I share that concern. And we normally do share that concern, 300. Well, I shouldn't say 365 days a year, because early in the recruiting process, they're always going to get studs. And then as time goes on, it's like, let's call up those Ohio kids. Let's see, how do we rank the Ohio projects? So always concerned with the O-line, and there should be. But nowhere else do I see somewhere that fans are concerned, and we'll just wait till next year. Yeah, I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't think they're content to wait for next year on D line for sure.
No way.
I think they know they need four and preferably five in this class. Certainly probably 3 ends and 2 tackles at this point. I don't think they're going to try and kick that can down the road. I really don't. I mean, maybe they're not as concerned about defensive tackle just because we've seen the emergence of Tyleik Williams. We all think, I think we all believe Michael Hall is going to be a really good player down the road and probably as early as next season. There are some free year type things out there with the Jerron Cages and the Teron Vincents of the world, things like that. Maybe they get a vet or two back over that. So I mean, maybe they're not as crazy about the 2.5 defensive tackles. Maybe they just 1 or 2. But I don't even think that. I think they'll take the 2. I will say on safety though, they've got a lot of defensive backs in this class. They took a lot of defensive backs last year. Those guys are generally pretty interchangeable. I think maybe if they can't get Wampa or Branch, that maybe at that point they wouldn't go to like the plan B, plan C. I think maybe at that point they might not feel so desperate to add a body as maybe they would on the defensive line.
Could be.
But that's probably about. I think that's my thought on that. Is D-line, no way. They want those guys. They want to fill that. They want to fill all those spots. Maybe safety. Stokes, Turner. I see guys there who could play a couple different spots in the secondary. I mean, Jair could play outside or could play slot. I think there's enough there, maybe, that certainly they don't want to lose those guys. They want to get those guys, but I don't know that they would have to panic offer a kid late in the process. I don't know if they would have to do that.
What are your thoughts on Alex Safari, the in-state kid?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not a corner. I know. Yeah, yeah, he thinks he's a corner. No, I think it's worth a look. You know, I haven't seen him this fall yet. I'm hoping to change that sooner rather than later. He's intriguing physically. I think it's always interesting when guys like I take someone like like Legend Cavazos, I know is a name that people wanted to put at free safety. And it's like, well, if he's always played corner and now you're going to kind of move him to the middle of the field, you're seeing an entire different game from the middle of the field than you are from out on the sideline as a corner, as an outside corner. I'd like to see the instincts there. I mean, I think safety more than corner. I think corner is just a how athletic are you type of thing. And I think safety is more of a how instinctual are you type of thing, because I think Jordan Fuller proved that. I don't think Jordan Fuller is a freak of an athlete. I just think Jordan Fuller is an incredibly instinctual guy and was still able to play that center field position without being a 4-3 guy. So I'd like to maybe get that question answered, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be, I don't think we've seen worse reaches than that. I think over the years, I don't think that'd be a bad. I don't think that'd be a bad offer. But
no, I don't think so either. I like Alex a lot as a safety.
All right, what else do we got from Twitter here? That's Kiyaunta Goodwin. Flips. There's Kojo. Well, there it is. There's the James Franklin rumors. You already kind of hit on that with Drew Allar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's most important needs. Most important needs here as we close out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go way out on the limb and say O lineman here, and I know that's gonna shock you and everybody else, but you're sitting there right now with Tigra, Fitz, and Avery Henry, and that is not the class people were looking for about 6 months ago. So Dewberry, Earnest Greene, man, those are, you got to hit at least one, and I think they need both. So we'll see, but needs O-line, and then the safeties, man. I really like Branch. I really like Nwampa. If they get both, man, that'd be time to break out to Champaign. One of the two would be amazing. So that's where I'm at with needs, and I think they're set up on that D line. I think I have no worries there that when we do our class recap here in December, January, we're going to be really high on this D line class. So to me, O line absolutely at the top, and then those safeties.
Oh, here's a good one from the board that I kind of glanced over. M. Hankey 9876 would love to hear about a potential start to the 2023 wide receiver board. Bill?
Wow. You caught me flat-footed on that one.
Well, I mean, Carnell Tate for sure.
Sure, and we've had him in for the longest time, and it just never seems to happen. And I really like that kid, by the way, man. That guy is so good. And I think Ohio State's, I would favor them over Notre Dame for Carnell Tate. I really would. Yeah,
I think I think Ohio State's probably waiting to see how that plays out. I think that's their top of the board guy right now. We saw him play Bishop Sycamore. So you can take that. I guess maybe take that with a grain of salt. But we saw him at camp. Yeah, we saw him at camp too.
Camp go against real football players, and he was good then.
and teenagers too. And he wasn't going against 22-year-olds that had played at JUCOs already or something. But yeah, I think Carnell Tate is pretty special. After watching him this summer a couple times, I think that's where everything starts. I think they would love to get involved with guys like Jalen Hale and Braylon James out of Texas. I'm not sure they're in great shape with either of those guys at that point. And then the other guy to mention is Zachariah Branch. He's Zion Branch's brother
Sure.
at Bishop Gorman.
They
I think
like
that's probably, yeah, I think that's probably like if they could, I think if they could set this up perfectly, I think they could get Carnell Tate early. I think if you get Zion, you kind of know if you're going to get Zachariah. I don't think, like, if they don't get Zion, I don't know if they can get Zachariah. And if they get Zion, I think they got a great chance at getting Zachariah.
Agreed.
So I think if they could line this up perfectly, they would get Carnell Tate. They would know kind of where they stand with Branch. And then if they were in a good position there, then you're talking 2. And then I think at that point, Hartline says, okay, who are the 3 or 4 best receivers in the entire country? And I'm only calling those kids for the next 12 months. Yeah. I think that's how they would like this to go.
In-state?
Anthony Brown, I think's Ohio State good, but
they like him. But yeah, do they like him enough?
They never pulled the trigger. He camped like 3 times. He's having he's a baller. I mean, he's not just a camp kid. He puts up numbers at Springfield. He's doing great. Springfield's a title contender this year. I mean,
and if you remember when he was at camp, Parker Fleming took him off to a side field and they had him fielding punts. Mm-hmm. So that kind of told me that they're looking for a little extra role out of him, that maybe, they could see him as a multi-position kid, that not just a slot receiver, but maybe he's our punt returner too. So I know they like him a lot, but he could be, he could go under the heading of you can't just take them all. And maybe under the way wide receiver recruiting was maybe 4 or 5 years ago, he's in. Under Jim Tressel, he's absolutely in. But now with Hartline having the ability to go from, Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, and get whoever he wants, that makes it tougher for an Anthony Brown. But I really like him. I think he's good enough to play at Ohio State. But, is he number 5 and you can get 4 that you like better? That's where I'm at on him. But I really like that kid.
And could he and Branch coexist?
Yeah, they're probably both slot guys. And,
Hartline
doesn't seem to like the pure slot guy either. He kind of likes guys that can play inside and outside. So we'll see. I would love to see Anthony Brown in the class because he wants to be in the class. And he's a really good player, a good kid. I would like to see him in. But, boy, if you're trying to get an Ohio State offer as a wide receiver in today's Ohio State, man, you better be really, really good.
I think we'll wrap it up with this. Getting asked, we got Buck Wrestler 141. I think 1 or 2 others maybe even asked about him too. Jimmy Rolder update. Linebacker out of Illinois, 2022 guy they just offered. I'm already finding, and it's hard. It's actually hard when a kid, you didn't even know a kid existed a week ago, and now you're trying to play catch up here for us. It's not a guy we have a relationship with or anything like that. I don't know if he had an offer 2 weeks ago from anybody for football. He's so low key right now. I know there's talk he's going to show up this weekend at Ohio State. I would just say, let's see if he shows up this weekend. I did have someone tell me that there's too much family ties to Illinois and that could be tough. I don't know if you have anything to add, Bill, on that, but I'm not there yet. I'd like to see him show up this weekend and kind of get a feel for how that went, talk to people, see if Jimmy will talk about it, but certainly talk to other people and see what the temperature is after the visit if it happens.
Yeah, I mean, he's just become a big-time recruit in the past month. I mean, I think he's viewed himself as a baseball player all along. So we'll see. I mean, what happens. Again, the first step is him showing up. That's the first step. At that point, he shows up this weekend or later down the road, then I think it gets really, really serious, irregardless of his connections to the University of Illinois. So we'll see. I mean, he's someone definitely to keep an eye on, and I could see him taking another backer in his class. If they really like the kid, I could see him in the class. When you see kids get no offers for the longest time, and then all of a sudden it's boom, 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 everybody starts offering, it makes me wonder, are these schools thinking, well, we don't really know about him, but man, if Michigan offered and all these other schools are offering, we better throw an offer out there just to put ourselves in the game. and then we'll figure out if he's a taker or not. But if we don't offer him right now, we're not going to be in this thing. So, throw the offer out now, and we'll do more research later. The offers in doesn't mean we have to take him, but the offer puts us in the game, and then we can do our research. I'm not saying that's the case with Jimmy, but I've seen it before where that's happened.
Yeah, that's certainly a good point. I want to see again if he wasn't offered a month ago. I mean, there's no way they don't have a 12 to 24 month relationship here.
No.
So not only is this offer just happening and they're just getting up to speed on his film and everything else, I think they're probably just getting up to speed on culture fit person. They probably don't know this kid very well at all. So that's another reason for the visit is like, at least like let him sit down with the coaches for an hour or 30 minutes even, and just kind of like feel each other out a little bit. I just think if he shows up this weekend, we'll know a lot more like Sunday, Monday than we do now. I think it's a bit of a wild card right now, but certainly shows that they are interested in adding another linebacker. They're continue to be interested in doing that. All right. Well, I'm sorry. One more. We got, Mike V464, given the amount of super seniors that may opt to come back next year or players we all assumed would go to the draft, what size class do you think OSU ends with?
Wow. Oh, man. I don't know. I've kind of been working off that 23, 24, 25 thing, but the way the numbers got skewed with COVID, it's kind of hard to figure right now. Who comes back, who doesn't come back. How they count against you going forward. I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. I would need to do a little more research into that before I just threw a number out. I've been working off the 23, 24, 25 range.
Yeah. And so, okay, what, 16 right now? It's the top of my head, right? Someone jump in and tell me I'm wrong if I'm wrong, but I think they're at 16 right now. Let's work from there. Okay. Done at running back, done at tight end,
done at wide
out, probably done at quarterback, but Devin Brown, they're trying to get him to visit. They're going to try. Right. I think they'd like to, but I don't know if that's going to actually end up happening with getting a quarterback. Two more O linemen probably. I think 4 on the D line.
I could see that.
So you're at 6.
A linebacker makes 7.
Maybe a linebacker, and I would say
2 DBs, maybe.
Maybe
they're not turning down the Walker Brand.
Right, but if they only get one, are they going to go find another one somewhere? I don't think they would. Yeah. I think they would just stay put.
Just what we have there, it puts us 25, I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking 7. I'm thinking like minimum 7, which would put them at 23. So I think you're right, 23 to 25. But I think minimum 7 with. So let's just call it. Let's call it 2 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen to get to 6, and then let's just say like a defensive back, make it 7.
Yeah.
But then if they're able to add a linebacker and they're somehow able to find a quarterback, I think it could go to 9. Or it could get to 9 if you get 2 DBs and then you find a linebacker or a quarterback. So you nailed it, man. 23. Yeah, you said you had no idea, but I mean that's 23 to 25 right there.
I don't think it's out of the realm that they could land both of Nwankpa and Branch. I'm not saying it's happening, but I don't know where else those kids are going. You know what I mean? Right. I still have Ohio State as either the favorite or the co-favorite for both. So we'll see.
Yeah. That's a little bit of an Abor Jackson vibe to me, though, of like, okay, when the first one of those two to decides, what does that do to the other? If, let's say, whoever decides first goes to Ohio State, what does that do to the other one's mindset? Does that push the other one somewhere? And then, of course, the elephant in the room with Branch is, what on earth is USC doing? So I think that's the elephant in the room there.
Right.
So, see how that, eventual in-home goes with whoever they hire, I guess. But so I think 23 to 25. Bill pretended he didn't know what he was talking about, and then hit the number hit the range on the button. So 23 25 probably. And look, it's a huge recruiting weekend coming up. It's gonna be their biggest visit weekend of the year, I think. Other than maybe maybe that back in June, but in terms of the regular season visitor lists, this is the one. So We will have coverage throughout the week. We'll have updates on the message board, updates on the website. We'll do a couple more, I think, of these between Alex and us and everyone else. I think we'll have a couple more of these coming out before kickoff on Saturday. So we'll continue to update things. I'm sure guys are going to be dropped from the list. I'm sure guys are going to be added to the list. So we'll continue to kind of go with the flow on that. But we appreciate everyone listening, and we will see you very soon. We'll have more this week. So we will talk to you guys this week more about the Penn State game.